What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more of the beloved. Once again, we're returning to the Where It Is CD version, which is to say from 88. The original album release was 87. Thank you again to Philip. And we're up to the last regular tune, I believe, though there is one bonus track in the folder, so we'll do that next time. And the final regular tune is Forever Dancing, which certainly is clear on the surface. One wonders whether that's dancing through life or whether the idea of dancing in a more literal sense but never getting too old for it, or dancing all through the night and on into the morning, which would not literally be forever but forever in a more functional or immediate sense. So yes, I feel like this might operate on multiple levels. I'll see what I can catch on a first listen as Luca amusingly stares on. This is the beloved. The track is Forever Dancing, and it's from the 1988 CD version of their 1987 album, Where It Is. crazy. So there's like two major sonic flavors here, which is to say there's a like 80s breakbeat, almost like break dancing type of rhythm with some, like, let's say, electronic synth pop touches. But then there's guitar work, which definitely has a powerful, or adds a powerful component to the tune. And there's actually like two layers of that. There's these heavy, like, metallic guitar chords and eventually some flourishing. And then there was like another guitar line which was a bit more lyrical and melodic. And, you know, by the end, the guitar of the more metallic character kind of took over. But there was a short section where there was a different guitar layer that really stood out. But yeah, it's like it feels relatively minimal in terms of the arrangement or the production, meaning it wasn't like, you know, this big wall of like different layers of sound, like pad synths and so on. It was relatively stripped down, and again, almost had a bit of a breakdancing feel. As for the title, I feel like it was answered in the sense that it's like in his dream, or dreams plural, they're forever dancing. But there's a bit of ambiguity to me, because at first I thought he was like saying that their love was over. So it was like, you know, in his dreams they're still persisting, they're still carrying on, but in reality there's been a cutoff, there's been a separation. And then maybe that is the case, but then he's like saying like, I know our love will grow, I know that our love will continue essentially, and not only that, but get stronger and bigger. So I don't know if he's like, you know, saying that as a mantra to try to make himself feel better about what's happening, and it's really just in his head that that's occurring, and in reality it's colder and more divided or over. Or whether he's convinced that it's going to come back around, there'll be a renaissance, or maybe this is part of a larger process of like push, pull, separate, and then, what's the right word? Rapprochement and so on. So yeah, I don't quite know what's happening, but I feel like it is about a relationship. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's romantic / intimate, though I do feel like that's most likely. But yeah, it's interesting, because as I said, I think the title phrase is used in relation to his dreams, and of course even then, it could be figurative and literal. Like, he sees them literally dancing together, but that is a metaphor for being close and intimate and connected. But it sounds like there, at least at some point, has been a break or a disruption in that love. The question is it realistic that it will come back together and restore, or is that like his delusion or his attempts to convince himself of something that's not really happening? So I'm a bit ambiguous on that point, but I definitely enjoy the vocals. They had this, you know, a bit atmospheric, a bit mysterious even, which lent itself to the, like, is he in his head? Is he thinking of dreams? It felt less, you know, pointed and, you know, directed at the actual other person. It was more like inner monologue as it hit me, in part because of the vocals. Again, the guitar work very prominent, though the percussion schemes, which had multiple layers. It wasn't just that like kick breakbeat, but there were like these little tapping rhythms and this like smashing rhythm. In fact, there was that one transitional section where it was like these big, like bombastic percussive sounds, including, you know, what sounded like furniture being thrown down. I don't even know like what actually, you know, type of drum it was reminiscent of. So yeah, definitely a dynamic tune sonically, even if it was relatively pared back and stripped down. So yeah, ultimately cool to get back to Beloved. It had gone a little bit longer than I realized, which I think has happened more than once in this deep dive, so hopefully I can keep it on my radar now. I've been doing a bit better about that lately, so very much enjoying it. As I said, there's one bonus tune. I think it's like, is it If Only 88? Let me confirm. Yeah, If Only 88. So it's listed specifically as a bonus track, so we'll look forward to that. As I said, thank you to Philip, and I do believe there's a couple more albums in the larger Beloved folder, so even once we finish that bonus track, that will not be the end of this deep dive. So from Luca and I, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.